Here's the best way to complete the Cinder Cavern journal entry for Roblox Dig. So how this is going to work is I'm going to give you a recommended loadout for each rarity. For junk rarity, you should be using the magnet shovel. For your charms, you should be using the imp horns, the ice picks, and the cauldron hat. For the common rarity, you should be using the solstice shovel with the basic magnet, and the charms are going to be the same thing. For the unusual rarity, you can use the same thing, but myself, I use the starfire shovel. You can use the green magnets, and then the same 3 charms. For the scarce rarity, you're going to use the starfire shovel, the fortuned magnet, and for the charms, you're going to use the cauldron hat, the imp horns, and the solstice bell. For legendary, the starfire shovel, the legendary magnet is recommended, and the same 3 charms is the last. For mythics, use the starfire shovel, then you can use the magic magnet, and then for charms, use the same as the last 2. For divines, it's going to be the starfire shovel mixed with the crimson steel magnet, and also the same last 3 charms. Prismatic is also going to be the starfire shovel mixed with the same 3 charms. Now that the loadouts are out of the way, we're going to be using those loadouts for each of those rarities, and now let's go ahead and get into the best locations for every single item. Starting off with the first 2 junk items, the chalk here actually has an abundance. If you go down the elevator, you can actually see the abundance just here at the start. And then the gravel, I would recommend just digging on top of actual like rocks inside of the cavern. Moving on to the common items, the metal pipe, there's going to be an abundance for this. So if you are following the blue mushrooms, you will just run into the metal pipe abundance. Then we have raw copper. It can also be found anywhere on the stone. However, it's actually way more common inside of the copper mesa if you want to dig there for it. For coal, there is an abundance as well. If you're following these blue mushrooms towards the enchanting area, you will see an abundance here. And then for the pickaxe, there's actually a couple of abundances here a little bit forward from the entrance, you can see. And then the glow stick can just be found anywhere on the stone. Moving on to the unusual items, starting with the gas can here. It can also just be found anywhere near the start or basically anywhere in the cave. For the raw item, there is also a ton of abundances for this inside of the cave, so kind of just drive around. It's a little confusing to explain how to get here, but you will see a bunch. Moving on to the spider eye and spider, both of these items are going to be most commonly found inside of the spider boss room. For the spider in specific, you can see there is a ton of abundances around the area. For the peridot item, this can be found at an abundance kind of near the spider cave on the way to the Jinn statue here. For sulfur, there is also a abundance for this, so it's actually just going to be on the way to the spider cave. And then the aquamarine also has an abundance. Just following the blue mushrooms, you will run right into it. Moving on to the scarce items, we have the cave bat, the ruby, the amethyst, and the sapphire. All 4 of these items are going to be most commonly found in the bottom area where the enchanting area is. There is actually an abundance for the sapphire as well if you need to use that. The jackhammer can also be found down here as well anywhere, but I would recommend just digging on top above the elevator. That's where I personally got this. For the tungsten, there is an abundance for this. It's going to be on the way towards the spider. For topaz, there is also an abundance. While you're following the blue mushrooms next to this little NPC here, you can actually see the abundance right here on the ground. Moving on to the legendary items, we have the gold cart and the Diglett. Both of these items are going to be most commonly found down here around the same area. And another item you're probably going to be struggling with a little bit is this Tanzanite, so I would recommend just digging right here. This is where I personally got it, the area in front of the enchant. Just make sure you're digging on the stone and not the grass. Moving on to the mythical items, starting off with the rock statue. So you're most commonly going to find this down here. At least I've found a lot down here. And the diamond as well. You shouldn't struggle too hard with this, but it is a little bit harder than the rock statue, so this area is going to be the best spot for it again. So for the celestial crystal, this is going to be one of the hardest mythics to actually obtain. You can technically get it anywhere, however, I personally got it right here, so you can see if you're following the blue mushrooms, 2 archways meet. Just digging in this open space here, that is where I personally got it. Moving on to the divine items, the Jinn god of gold statue, I would recommend digging up in front of the Jinn god of gold statue. I mean, it only makes sense for this to have the highest luck for it, which if you don't know, if you give him a golden mutation item, you actually get an hour of an additional luck boost. So while you're here, you might as well give him one, so that way you're able to get higher luck. Next up, we have the Gollum statue. This can be found literally anywhere in the rocks. However, I personally found it above the elevator. So the Hypno blue shroom, I personally dug it up right here, kind of around these other blue mushrooms. So just make sure you are digging around the area down here and not up at top. Moving on to the prismatic item, this is going to be the Mole King. This is a little bit hard to get, but not too hard. It can literally be found anywhere, but once again, I actually dug this up at the same exact spot as I did the golem, just above the elevator area. And then we have the spider egg and giant spider, which is pretty obvious. If you don't know, you just have to kill the spider boss, which can either spawn naturally or you can have somebody spawn it in with a totem, and then you have a 100% chance to get the spider egg and then a 15% chance to get the giant spider. And that is how you complete the Cinder Cavern journal entry. Make sure to check out the other journal entry videos that I have here. All of them are going to be in a playlist once they're all done and uploaded, so we're going to have a video for every single location. Make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss it. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one.